Why can't I move my legs? I woke up Tuesday morning and couldn't feel anything below my waist. Complete numbness from my hips down. I tried to sit up in bed and immediately fell back down. My legs completely dead weight. My girlfriend Amy was already awake, sitting in the chair next to our bed with a cup of coffee. She looked concerned but not surprised, which struck me as odd for someone whose boyfriend just discovered he was paralyzed. "How are you feeling, babe?" she asked softly. I told her I couldn't move my legs and she nodded sympathetically. "The doctor said this might happen. You hit your head pretty hard when you fell down the stairs yesterday. Sometimes there's temporary paralysis from trauma." I didn't remember falling down any stairs. The last thing I remembered was having dinner with Amy on Monday night. We'd made pasta and watched Netflix together. I asked her what she meant about stairs. "You don't remember? You were going down to get something from the basement and you slipped. I found you at the bottom, unconscious. I was so scared, Mike." She seemed genuine, but something felt wrong. Our apartment didn't have a basement. We lived on the third floor of a converted house with no basement access. When I pointed this out, Amy's face went completely blank for just a second. "I meant the stairs going down from our apartment. You fell going downstairs to get the mail from the lobby." She recovered quickly, but I caught the hesitation in her voice. Amy said she'd taken me to urgent care, where they'd done x-rays and a CT scan. Everything looked normal, but the doctor warned that head injuries could cause temporary paralysis. She showed me paperwork with my name on it, but my vision was too blurry to read the details. Throughout the morning, Amy was attentive but acting weird. She brought me breakfast and pills she said were for reducing brain swelling. The pills were white and completely unmarked, not from any pharmacy bottle I'd ever seen. When I asked to see the prescription bottle, she said she'd thrown it away because it was empty. I asked if I could call my brother Pete to let him know what happened. Amy said my phone was broken from the fall and she'd already ordered me a new one. She'd also called my work to explain I'd be out for several days with a head injury. The paralysis didn't improve by afternoon. If anything, I felt more foggy and disoriented than when I'd first woken up. Amy kept giving me those unmarked white pills every few hours, saying the doctor had prescribed them specifically for pain and brain inflammation. I started noticing other strange things throughout the day. There were no medical discharge papers visible anywhere in the apartment, no bandages on my head where I supposedly hit it, no bruises or scrapes that would definitely come from falling down a flight of stairs. When Amy left to get groceries around 4, I managed to drag myself to the bathroom using just my arms. In the mirror, I looked completely normal. No head injury, no signs of trauma anywhere on my body. Not even a bump. I also realized I hadn't actually seen outside since waking up. Amy had kept all the blinds closed all day, saying the light would make my supposed headache worse, but I didn't actually have a headache. When she returned from the store, I pretended to take the pills but secretly palmed them instead. Within an hour, sensation started returning to my legs, tingling at first, then actual feeling and movement. Amy noticed me wiggling my toes and her face went white with panic. "The paralysis is supposed to last much longer than this," she muttered under her breath, almost to herself. I asked what she meant by supposed to, and that's when I saw what was really in her grocery bag. More white pills, dozens of them, scattered among hospital discharge papers that weren't the ones Amy had shown me earlier. These documents had my full name, but the admission date was 3 weeks ago, not yesterday. The diagnosis wasn't head trauma, but experimental trial participant. And there, tucked in the corner of the bag, a small medical kit containing several syringes filled with clear liquid. I try to keep my expression neutral as I process what I'm seeing, but Amy must notice something in my face. She snatches the bag away, but it's too late. "What's all that?" I ask, my voice steadier than I expected. "Those aren't from a fall yesterday." Amy's face hardens, all pretense of concern vanishing. "You shouldn't have seen that." She glances at her watch. "The pills should still be in your system. You shouldn't be able to move yet." "I didn't take the last dose," I admit, seeing no point in lying now. "What are you doing to me, Amy?" She backs away, keeping her eyes on me while reaching for her phone on the counter. I need to buy time to figure out what's happening. An idea forms, not a good one, but it's all I have. I let my eyes roll back and collapse onto the floor, making sure to fall heavily but protecting my head. I hear Amy gasp, then her footsteps hurrying toward me. Mike. Her fingers press against my neck, checking my pulse. I keep my breathing shallow, my body limp. "Damn it," she mutters. I hear her dialing a number, her footsteps pacing back and forth across our living room floor. "It's me," she says, her voice low and urgent. "We have a problem. He's becoming resistant to the medication." A pause. "No, I don't think he's fully aware yet, but he's regained mobility faster than expected. The paralysis compound isn't lasting as long as it should." I fight to keep my breathing even, my face slack. My heart is pounding so hard I'm afraid she'll hear it. "Yes, I know what's at stake," Amy continues, frustration evident in her voice. "The memory implantation seemed to take initially, but he's starting to question things. He noticed the basement inconsistency." Another pause. "I corrected it, but he's suspicious. His natural memories might be surfacing." "Natural memories? What is she talking about? What memories?" "I understand the procedure is delicate," she says, lowering her voice further, "but we need to adjust the memory alteration protocol. The current narrative isn't holding." She listens for a moment. "Tonight? That's too soon. I don't think..." She stops abruptly. "Fine. Yes, I'll prepare him." She ends the call and I hear her rummaging through the grocery bag. I crack one eyelid just enough to see her pulling out the medical kit, extracting one of the syringes. "I'm sorry, Mike," she whispers, and for a second, I think I hear genuine regret in her voice. "This wasn't supposed to happen like this. You volunteered. You know, you signed all the forms. But your mind is fighting the implantation harder than the others." She kneels beside me, and I know I have seconds before she injects me with whatever is in that syringe. My muscles tense, ready to move, but Amy must notice the change because she suddenly grabs my arm with surprising strength. Don't, she warns. This will be easier if you don't fight it. I snap my eyes open and try to pull away, but my limbs are still weak from whatever was in those pills. Amy's grip tightens as she brings the needle toward my arm. What are you doing to me? I demand, struggling against her hold. What's this about memory alteration? What procedure? You weren't supposed to remember anything, she says, her clinical tone a stark contrast to the girlfriend who supposedly loved me. Your old memories were temporarily suppressed while we implanted the new narrative. It was working perfectly until today. I kick out with my legs, finally connecting with something, the coffee table, sending it crashing over. Amy loses her balance but doesn't let go of my arm. Who are you really? I ask, still fighting against her grip. You're not my girlfriend, are you? I'm Dr. Amy Winters, she says, managing to pin my arm against the floor, lead researcher on the reality restructuring project. And no, I'm not your girlfriend. We've only known each other for 3 weeks, since you volunteered for the trial. The needle pierces my skin before I can process what she's saying. A cold sensation spreads up my arm as she depresses the plunger. You'll understand soon, she says, her voice already starting to sound distant as the drug takes effect. We're helping you create a better reality. Your old life was, well, you wanted to forget it. That's why you volunteered. My vision blurs, darkness creeping in from the edges. I try to speak, to ask more questions, but my tongue feels heavy in my mouth. The last thing I see is Amy pulling out her phone again, saying something about transport and the facility. Then darkness swallows me completely, and I'm gone. I wake up to the taste of copper in my mouth and a throbbing pain at the base of my skull. My eyelids feel like they're weighted down with lead, but I force them open, blinking against harsh fluorescent lights. The ceiling above me is unfinished, exposed beams and pipes. Not my apartment, not a hospital either. When I try to move, panic floods through me. My wrists and ankles are secured to a metal table with padded restraints. I pull against them, but they don't budge. He's awake, a male voice says from somewhere to my left. I turn my head, wincing at the stiffness in my neck. The room comes into focus slowly. Concrete walls, metal shelving filled with medical equipment, a bank of monitors displaying what looks like brain scans. It's a basement converted into some kind of medical facility. Amy steps into my field of vision, but she's almost unrecognizable. Gone is the casual girlfriend I thought I knew. This Amy wears a white lab coat over dark slacks, her hair pulled back in a severe ponytail, a tablet in her hands. Her eyes are clinical as she studies me, no trace of affection or concern. Vitals are stabilizing, she says, not to me, but to someone else in the room. Cognitive function appears intact. A man moves to stand beside her, tall, late 50s, with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He's also wearing a lab coat with a badge clipped to the pocket that I can't quite read. The memory implantation failure is concerning, he says, leaning over to examine my pupils with a penlight. This is the third subject to show resistance to the narrative framework. I flinch away from the light. What the hell is going on? Where am I? They both ignore my questions as if I haven't spoken. The paralysis compound should have lasted at least another 6 hours. The man continues, checking something on one of the monitors. His metabolism must be processing it faster than anticipated. I adjusted the dosage as recommended, Dr. Lassiter. Amy responds, her tone defensive, but he stopped taking the oral medication. I had to switch to injectable when he discovered the supplies. Dr. Lassiter sighs, clearly annoyed. You should have secured the medical kit better, Dr. Winters. These lapses compromised the entire study. Dr. Winters, that's what she called herself right before she drugged me. Dr. Amy Winters. Who are you people? I demand, pulling against the restraints again. What have you done to me? This time, Amy Dr. Winters turns to me. Mike, you need to calm down. Your blood pressure is spiking, and that could interfere with the procedure. What procedure? Why am I restrained? Where the hell am I? Dr. Lassiter makes a note on a clipboard. Subject shows high agitation. Recommend 5 milligrams of anxiolytic before continuing. No, I shout. No more drugs. Tell me what's happening. Dr. Winters places her tablet on a nearby table and approaches me. Her expression softens slightly, but it feels practiced, like she's following a protocol rather than showing genuine concern. Mike, you're experiencing confusion because your memory implantation didn't take properly. You volunteered for this study 3 weeks ago. You signed all the consent forms. This reaction is just temporary. Bullshit, I spit out. We've been together for 8 months. We live on the 3rd floor of that converted house on Elm Street. She shakes her head. Those are implanted memories, Mike. False narratives we created as part of the reality restructuring project. I'm not your girlfriend. I'm the lead researcher on this study. As she speaks, something flickers in my mind, a memory, but different from the ones of our apartment and our life together. I'm sitting in a sterile office, signing papers. There's a logo on the wall, RRP, in sleek blue letters. I remember asking questions about compensation, about risks. The trial pays $15,000, a voice says in my memory. But you won't remember the 3 weeks you spend with us. The memory fades as quickly as it appeared, but it leaves me shaken. What if she's telling the truth? If I volunteered, I say, my voice steadier now, then why am I restrained? Why did you have to drug me? Dr. Lassiter steps forward. The restraints are for your safety. Memory transition can be disorienting, sometimes violent. As for the medication, it helps manage the physical symptoms while your brain adjusts to the cognitive restructuring. Another memory surfaces fragments of a conversation in a room with other people, all of us in matching gray sweatpants and t-shirts. I just want to forget the accident, someone says. Start fresh. I hear my own voice. My brother Pete hasn't spoken to me in years. After what happened with our parents, he blames me. I just want a chance to have a family again. Pete, my brother Pete. But in my memories with Amy, Pete and I talk regularly. We're close. We have Sunday dinners together once a month. The brother in your implanted narrative, Dr. Winters says, noticing my expression, was based on your real brother, but we altered the relationship to fit the happiness parameters of the study. Happiness parameters? I echo. The reality restructuring project creates temporary alternate life narratives. She explains, we study how the brain adapts to implanted memories and how those false realities affect subjects' overall happiness and psychological well-being. Dr. Lassiter checks his watch impatiently. Dr. Winters, we need to proceed. The committee is waiting for our report, and this subject needs to be prepped for the memory extraction. Memory extraction. The words send a chill through me. What does that mean? I ask, unable to keep the fear from my voice. We'll be removing the implanted narrative, Doctor. Lassiter says matter-of-factly. Since it's failing anyway, we need to document the degradation patterns before they corrupt further. And then what happens to me? Dr. Winters at least has the decency to look uncomfortable. Then we restore your original memories, and you'll be released as planned, with full compensation. I don't believe her. Something about this feels wrong beyond the obvious wrongness of being restrained in a secret basement lab. If this was all above board, why the deception? Why did she panic when I discovered the truth? I need you to prepare the extraction equipment, Dr. Lassiter tells Dr. Winters. I'll administer the preparatory sedative. As they turn away from me, I test the restraints again. The one on my right wrist feels slightly looser than the others. If I can just get free, maybe I can find out what's really going on here. Find some evidence of what they're doing. Because one thing is becoming increasingly clear, whatever I signed up for, whatever I agreed to, this has gone far beyond a simple clinical trial. I wait until Dr. Lassiter leaves the room, counting his footsteps as they fade down the hallway. Dr. Winters' Amy is still here, but she's moved to the far corner, where she's preparing something with her back to me. The restraint on my right wrist is definitely looser than the others. I work my hand back and forth, feeling the padding give slightly with each movement. My mind races with fragments of memories, real ones and implanted ones, tangling together like crossed wires. I remember meeting Amy at a coffee shop, her smile as she handed me her number. But now I also remember signing forms in a sterile office, being led through a hallway with other people in gray sweats. Which is real. Both feel authentic, but one must be false. I twist my wrist again, harder this time, ignoring the burn of skin against the padded restraint. Amy is still distracted, typing something into a computer terminal. Just a little more. My hand slips free. I freeze, waiting to see if she noticed, but she remains focused on her work. Moving as silently as possible, I reach across and unbuckle the restraint on my left wrist, then quickly free my ankles. My muscles feel weak and shaky, but adrenaline pushes me forward. I slide off the table, bare feet hitting the cold concrete floor. There's a door on the opposite side of the room from where Dr. Lassiter exited. If I can just reach it without... What are you doing? Amy's voice cuts through the silence. She's turned around, her eyes wide with alarm. I lunge for the door, yanking it open and stumbling through before she can stop me. I find myself in a narrow hallway lined with filing cabinets. Behind me, I hear Amy calling for security, her footsteps rushing toward the door. I run, my legs unsteady but functional. The hallway opens into a small room filled with desks and computers. It looks like a research office, with charts and brain scans pinned to bulletin boards. No windows, but another door on the far side. On one of the desks, a folder catches my eye, thick manila with Subject 17. Michael Brenner, printed on the tab. My name, my file. I grab it just as the door behind me bursts open. Amy stands there, a walkie-talkie in hand. Mike, stop. You don't understand what you're doing. I back away, clutching the file to my chest. I think I understand perfectly. You've been experimenting on me. It's not what you think, she insists, taking a step toward me. The reality restructuring project is helping people create better lives. I spot a phone on one of the desks and lunge for it, knocking over a chair in the process. Amy rushes forward, but I'm faster, snatching the receiver and punching in Pete's number, one of the few I know by heart, real or implanted. Security to Research Office B, Amy says into her walkie-talkie. Subject 17 is loose. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times. Amy is just feet away when Pete's voice comes through the line. Hello? Pete, it's Mike. I need help. Who is this? Pete interrupts, his voice confused and wary. It's Mike, your brother, I say desperately. I'm in trouble. I don't have a brother, Pete says flatly. I think you have the wrong number. The words hit me like a physical blow. Pete, it's me. We had dinner last month at that Italian place you like. You told me about your promotion. Look, I don't know who this is, but I don't have a brother named Mike. Never have. Please don't call this number again. The line goes dead. I stand frozen, the receiver still pressed to my ear, as Amy approaches cautiously. I told you, she says softly. The relationship with your brother in your implanted memories isn't real. The real Pete hasn't spoken to you in years. I slam the phone down. So you just decided to give me fake memories of a reconciliation that never happened? Play God with my life? You asked us to, she says. You specifically requested a narrative where you and your brother had reconciled. It was part of your happiness parameters. I flip open the file in my hands, scanning the documents inside. There it is, a form with my signature requesting familial reconciliation as part of my customized reality framework. Behind that is a document titled Reality Restructuring Experiment, Phase 2 Protocol. I skim it quickly, my blood running cold as I read. Subjects demonstrating successful implantation will progress to Phase 3, permanent memory replacement and identity reconstruction. Failed subjects will undergo complete memory extraction for data analysis before termination of participation. Termination of participation? I look up at Amy. What does that mean exactly? Her expression tells me everything I need to know. You're not just studying how fake memories affect people, I say, backing away. You're trying to completely replace who they are. It's more complicated than that, she begins, but heavy footsteps in the hallway cut her off. I look around frantically for an escape route. There's another door behind one of the desks. I sprint toward it, throwing it open to find a small storage closet. Not an exit, but maybe a hiding place. I dive inside, pulling the door closed just as security enters the office. Through the thin door, I hear Amy directing them. He couldn't have gone far. Check the stairwell in the north corridor. Footsteps move away, but I know Amy is still out there. I press my back against the wall, trying to control my breathing as I continue reading the file by the thin light coming through the door crack. There are photos of me before the experiment looking thinner, sadder, with dark circles under my eyes. Notes about my psychological profile mention severe depression following familial estrangement, and ideal candidate for complete identity reconstruction. I flip to another page and freeze. There's a list of subjects, 20 names including mine. Next to each name is a status. Most say failed implantation, terminated. Only 3, including mine, are marked active. The closet door suddenly opens. Amy stands there, alone. They're searching the building, she says quietly, but I know you're still here. I hold up the file. What happened to the terminated subjects? Did you kill them? She winces. That's not. We don't. Tell me the truth, I demand, stepping out of the closet. What is this experiment really about? Amy glances toward the hallway, then back at me. She lowers her voice. The Reality Restructuring Project began as a therapeutic approach for people with severe trauma or depression. Give them new, happier memories. But then the military got involved. They saw the potential for creating assets. People whose entire identities could be overwritten. And that's what you're doing to me? Turning me into someone else? You were supposed to be different, she says, and for the first time I see genuine emotion in her eyes. Your case was meant to remain therapeutic, but Dr. Lassiter has other plans for the successful subjects. What plans? Complete identity reconstruction, permanent memory replacement. They want to see if they can create entirely new people loyal to whoever programmed them. A chill runs through me. And the others? The terminated subjects? Amy looks away. Their minds couldn't handle the conflict between real and implanted memories. The extraction process. It doesn't always leave much behind. Footsteps echo in the hallway again, coming closer. They're coming back, Amy whispers urgently. Mike, I can help you, but you have to trust me. Trust you? I almost laugh. After everything you've done? I didn't know what this would become when I started, she says, but I can't let them continue. Not with you, not with anyone. The footsteps are getting closer. I have seconds to decide. What's your plan? I ask, clutching the file like a shield. There's a service exit through the lab where they keep the records. I can get you there, but we have to move now. I hesitate, searching her face for any sign of deception. Is this another trick? Another layer of the experiment? But what choice do I have? Lead the way, I say, and follow Dr. Amy Winters, the woman who stole my memories and might be my only hope of escaping with my mind intact. The employee keycard I snatched from Amy's lab coat feels slippery in my sweaty palm as I press it against the sensor. The light flashes green, and I push through the service exit into what looks like a maintenance corridor. My bare feet slap against the cold concrete as I run, clutching the stolen file to my chest like it's a life vest in open water. Behind me, I hear the alarm begin to blare, a high-pitched wailing that sends adrenaline surging through my system. They know I'm gone. The corridor stretches ahead, dimly lit by fluorescent lights that flicker and buzz. I have no idea where I am or where this hallway leads, but anywhere is better than back there. I pass a door marked storage, and another labeled electrical. At the end of the corridor is a stairwell. I push through the door and start climbing, my legs still shaky from whatever drugs they pumped into my system. 2 flights up, I emerge into what looks like a normal office building hallway. Beige walls, gray carpet, motivational posters about teamwork and excellence. The contrast is jarring. Upstairs, a corporate facade. Downstairs, they're erasing people's minds. I peek around a corner and see a reception desk, currently unmanned. Beyond it, glass doors lead to what must be the outside world, freedom. But between me and those doors is an open office area where several people in business attire work at computers. I need a distraction. The file in my hands contains everything proof of what they're doing, their methods, their victims. I flip through it frantically until I find what I need, a list of contact information for the project supervisors. Near the bottom is a name that makes my blood run cold. Federal Oversight Contact, Special Agent Mercer, Department of Defense. The military connection Amy mentioned. This isn't just some rogue scientific experiment, it has government backing. I spot a phone on a nearby desk and make a split-second decision. I dial the number for the local police, heart hammering in my chest. 911. What's your emergency? My name is Michael Brenner. I whisper urgently. I'm being held against my will at the Reality Restructuring Project facility on Westbrook Avenue. They're conducting illegal human experimentation. People are dying. Sir, can you verify your location? I glance at a piece of mail on the desk. 1200 Westbrook Avenue. The Reality Restructuring Project. It looks like a normal office building, but there's a secret research facility in the basement. Please hurry, they're looking for me. I hang up before she can ask more questions. The alarm is still blaring, and I hear shouting from the stairwell. They're coming! I need to move! I dart across the office area, keeping low behind cubicle walls. Someone calls out, "Hey, who are you?" But I don't stop. I crash through the glass doors and find myself in a parking lot, the late afternoon sun momentarily blinding me after hours in the windowless facility. I run, barefoot and dressed only in the gray sweatpants and t-shirt they had me in, clutching the damning file. My feet scrape against the asphalt, but pain is secondary to escape. I make it to the street just as a police cruiser rounds the corner, responding to my call with surprising speed. The officer inside looks startled to see a disheveled man running toward his vehicle. He steps out, one hand cautiously near his weapon. "Are you Michael Brenner?" he asks. "Yes." I gasp. "They're coming." The file. I thrust the documents toward him. "It's all in here. What they're doing to people. Erasing memories. Creating new identities." The officer takes the file, confusion evident on his face, but something in my desperate expression must convince him this is serious. He opens his cruiser door. "Get in," he says. "More units are on the way." As I slide into the passenger seat, I see Dr. Lassiter burst through the doors of the facility, pointing in my direction. 2 security guards flank him, and behind them is Amy, her face a mask of conflicting emotions. The next few hours pass in a blur. More police arrive. The facility is surrounded. I sit in an interview room at the police station, telling my story over and over to increasingly higher-ranking officers. They're skeptical at first, but the file speaks for itself. Detailed records of memory extraction, brain scans labeled before implantation and after implantation, and most damning of all, the list of terminated subjects. When I mention the Department of Defense connection, the room goes quiet. A detective leaves and returns with someone in a dark suit who doesn't introduce himself but listens intently as I repeat my story. "We'll need to verify all of this," the suited man says when I finish. "There are other people in there," I insist. "Subjects like me, they need help." He nods once, then leaves the room. The detective tells me they're obtaining a warrant to search the facility. I ask for a phone and call Pete again, not expecting much. "Hello," his voice is wary, just like before. "Pete, it's Mike," I say, my voice breaking. "I know you don't remember me as your brother, but I am. Something happened to me to us. I can explain everything if you'll just listen." There's a long pause. "The police called me," he finally says. "They said you might contact me, that you've been through something unusual." "That's one way to put it," I say with a hollow laugh. "They said you might need a place to stay, that you're really my brother, but I don't remember because we've been estranged for years." "It's more complicated than that," I say. "But yes, we're brothers." Another pause. "I have a spare room," he says finally, "if you need it." Tears spring to my eyes. "Thank you," I whisper. 3 days later, I watch from Pete's living room as the news breaks. The Reality Restructuring Project facility has been raided. Dr. Lassiter and several others have been arrested. The reporter mentions allegations of unethical human experimentation and multiple counts of kidnapping and assault. They don't mention the military connection. The doorbell rings. Pete answers it, then calls me over. A woman stands on the porch, not Amy, but someone I recognize from the facility, one of the other researchers. "Mr. Brenner," she says nervously. "I'm Dr. Chen from the RRP. I've been granted immunity to help the authorities and to help the subjects." "Help how?" I ask suspiciously. "We can reverse much of what was done to you," she explains. "Not all of it. Some memories may be permanently lost, but we can restore your core identity, remove the false narrative implantation." "And the others?" I ask. "The other subjects? We're contacting them all," she says. "Those we can find." I think about the list of terminated subjects. "And Amy? Dr. Winters?" Dr. Chen's expression darkens. "In custody. The evidence against her is substantial." 2 weeks later, I sit in a different kind of medical facility, electrodes attached to my temples as Dr. Chen guides me through a series of memory exercises. Fragments of my real life return growing up with Pete, the accident that drove us apart, my depression afterward, signing up for what I thought was a harmless clinical trial for extra money. Some memories remain stubbornly out of reach, and others, the false ones with Amy as my girlfriend, retain a ghostly presence, like dreams I can't quite shake. Dr. Chen says this is normal, that the mind doesn't easily surrender even artificial experiences. Pete visits daily, bringing photos from our childhood, telling stories I should remember but don't. Slowly, painfully, we rebuild our relationship from scratch. He shows me patience I don't deserve, considering I'm essentially a stranger wearing his brother's face. 6 months later, I take the stand at Dr. Lassiter's trial. Amy sits at the defense table, not meeting my eyes as I describe waking up paralyzed in what I thought was our apartment, the white unmarked pills, her panic when I began moving my toes. I explain how she claimed I fell downstairs, then changed her story when I pointed out our apartment had no basement. "And what did you discover in her grocery bag?" the prosecutor asks. "More pills. Hospital discharge papers with my name on them, but listing me as an experimental trial participant, not someone who had fallen, and a medical kit with syringes." When Amy takes the stand, she finally looks at me. There's remorse in her eyes, but something else too, a clinical curiosity, as if even now, part of her sees me as a subject rather than a person. The Reality Restructuring Project began with noble intentions. she testifies, to help people overcome trauma, to give them a chance at happiness. And when did it change? The prosecutor asks. When the military funding came in, she admits. When Dr. Lassiter realized we could do more than treat trauma, we could create entirely new identities. Loyal soldiers who wouldn't break under torture, because they genuinely wouldn't know the truth. The jury takes less than 6 hours to return guilty verdicts for the entire research team. Afterward, in the hallway outside the courtroom, Amy asks to speak with me privately. Against my better judgment, I agree. I am sorry, Mike, she says softly. Not just for what we did to you, but for what we took from you. My memories, I say. My identity. Yes, she nods. But also the chance at that happiness you wanted so badly. The reconciliation with your brother that you asked us to create. I think about Pete waiting for me outside, about the slow, painful work of building a real relationship instead of the artificial one I remembered. Some things, I tell her, are worth earning the hard way. I walk away from Amy for the last time, toward my brother and whatever authentic future we might build one genuine memory at a time.